Hey everybody, it's Derek here. We're going to take a look at the news from 17th to the 23rd of May 2021. So earlier in the week, IGN put up a set of links for various children's charities for the ongoing Palestine, Israel, genocide basically. They put up a series of links of how you could help. This was later followed up with IGN Israel sharing a statement on social media where they condemned the US article that it was supporting Palestine and it wasn't supporting Israel, which then led to the IGN article itself being taken down. It wasn't entirely clear how and when that happened. Sorry, not when. We knew when it happened. How and why that happened. It's stated that maybe the parent company, Ziff, maybe they were behind it, or maybe the editorial team retracted it, they didn't know. Game Informer also, who are under the same parent company as IGN, they shared something similar, another article trying to showing support for Palestine and some charities that you could donate to if you were so inclined, but that also disappeared. As you can see, 404 is for Game Informer, and this 404 is for IGN. Later on down the line, IGN had a tweet that went out that basically said, we're sorry that we didn't take a both sides approach to genocide. Apparently, don't know why they decided to do that, but whatever. Apparently, you're supposed to both sidesism, this kind of thing. It wasn't signed though, nothing about this from the editorial team. At the time it went out, very early on a Sunday, I think it was, so the editorial team wouldn't have been in a position to even respond to it. Later on, then, IGN Africa also posted the same article and it was almost immediately taken down. IGN Israel pointed out their intention here was basically say, we don't think that IGN's US's motivation was a political thing. I think it was purely a humanitarian thing, but that said, we gotta both sides this genocide for whatever reason. Then, IGN staff put up a open letter. A bunch of people signed. I have a link to the letter here if you want to read it. It is quite lengthy, but it is a good read. Basically outlining that they weren't behind the retraction or the tweet that came out from afterwards. That was entirely upper management, who are supposed to refrain from kind of breaching the editorial border, as it were. So there is a concept in journalism that the owners of a publication are not meant to interfere with the editorial board because conflicts of interest and all that kind of thing. Journalism should be a completely unbiased thing, but this is actually an actual example of censorship in games journalism. And we obviously didn't see any of the people who normally decry censorship in games journalism. They had nothing to say about this for some reason, but whatever. The IGN letter basically pointed out to say that, we're still behind the humanitarian aid for Palestinian civilians. I don't know what's wrong with my tongue today. And basically saying this is ridiculous. Parent company shouldn't have stepped in like this, and they should have, if they were going to do it, they should have signed their own name to it instead of making it seem like the IGN editorial board was actually behind the retraction as well, which they were not. So the letter goes into further detail about this, and then things that they are asking upper management from J2 Global and Ziff Davis, the parent companies, is that they meet with the staff, accept public responsibility for the removal of the letter, and to republish the piece. That hasn't happened at time of this, at least in any case, that hasn't happened. 29 of the 39 editorial teams have signed the letter, but noticeable absences are editor-in-chief, managing editor, publisher, and chief content officers. None of them have signed the letter, so it's possible they're a little too close to upper management. Maybe they don't want to have a difficult working day on Monday. Anyway, as I said, the letter itself is here. It was published on Medium. It's quite long, but most of that length is signatures. To be perfectly, to be fair, give that a read if you're more interested on the ongoings of that. And also the Wayback Machine Web Archive has the actual article itself. It's missing the nice CSS stuff, but if you are interested in the links themselves, you can find them there. That link will also be in the description. Continuing on with the game industry approach to the conflict, Twitch charity streams are basically not there at all. Twitch has a history of kind of having these sort of charity streams for humanitarian reasons or whatever, and they tend to be front and center on the site. Even AGDQ, SGDQ, whatever they are, for medical things, people for ongoing conflicts, for refugee crises, for health crises, and so on. But there's pretty much nothing in terms of the Palestine versus Israel. It's mostly very small streamers who are also getting bombarded with claims that you're against what Israel is doing, so you must be anti-Semitic. It's no, I can be against what my own government is doing without being anti-Irish, that's not how it works. But again, it's people not wanting to have that, not wanting to be Jeremy Corbyn, as it's put in this article. This article itself is quite good. Again, it's quite lengthy, so I won't go into all of it. But if you're interested in seeing how Twitch is not helping in any way, you can have a look at that there. Again, the link will be in the description. So moving on from that topic, we go back to video games, I guess. Only one, for me at least, notable release this week, and even then it's not a new game. Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, the HD remaster. Shin Megami Tensei series is also responsible for the Persona spin-offs. So the Persona are more of a slice of life thing, whereas the Shin Megami stuff definitely goes deep in with the demons and gods and we need to dethrone God anime thing. It's very much like that. Good game, and Dante is in it for no reason whatsoever, so it's something to look at. I personally probably won't get it right now just because it's too much money for a remaster. It's $69.99. That's just I can't go along with that. Okay, time for the first story was really a shitty part of the games industry, but here's even more not so important but still shitty parts of an industry. I still have to come up with a proper term or motto for this section. I don't know, but it's we really like video games, but we kind of hate the industry it's made in. It's that. I need a quippy one for that. If you have any examples, throw them in the comments. Okay, so Ubisoft, mid to late last year, were kind of inundated with charges of toxic work culture, sexual harassment, basically being a pretty shitty place to work, and upper management full of nepotism, cronyism, it's all the bad isms basically. Allegations of harassment and sexual misconduct at the company. So there is a publication that came out in Le Telegram, basically itemizing the changes that Ubisoft has made, and the list is short because they haven't made any real changes whatsoever. So there's an action based by I will attempt to pronounce this, Solidaires Informatiques Jeux Vidéo, which is a game workers union. Remember how I've been talking about how games workers should get some unions and start and do that. Do it. just fucking do it, or you won't be able to do this kind of thing. Accusations have been targeting Ubisoft's toxic culture. It's also pointed out serious dysfunction in its HR departments. Changes the companies have made have been minimal so far. Their director of HR stepped down from their position, but has only just recently left the company. And they have been replaced by Chief People Officer, who spent 3 years at Uber. Famously known for taking care of its workers. Definitely, that's a good move. And they also have another person in who's VP of Global Diversity and Inclusion, who also came from Uber. So again, it's companies aren't exactly known for a great worker welfare exactly. An elected representative of Yeah. An elected representative from Ubisoft's Social and Economic Committee said they don't expect anything to come out of these appointments. As the HR staff who covered the harassment are still in position. So they changed the person at the top, but the rot is still there. Basically, they cut the head off it, but the snake didn't die. Some of the men at the heart of the harassment accusations are also still in their jobs. So people who had been accused, credible accusations. There are actual lawsuits going ahead in the next couple of days, I think. They're still in their position. Nothing's changed. Union representative said management is protecting him. Ubisoft Singapore director, Hugo Ricoeur, maybe, stepped down in November, but still works there. So they just moved him. They did the Catholic Church thing. They took him from one spot and sent him somewhere else. That's it. In Canada, nothing has changed. There's been an appointment of Christophe de Rennes, who is Yves Guillemot's cousin, so nepotism still there. New harassment cases have been reported since. Those who reported the issues have been sidelined, so they're not listening. They're trying to sweep all of this under the rug and hope people have forgotten. And to be fair, I had forgotten. Like it was working until this article came out. So good for you, Le Telegram. Initiatives were put forward by employee groups to try and help solve the crises, but these initiatives were not addressed by management. So again, they don't care. They just want this to go away. 20,000 members of staff have had half-day training following the crisis, with managers given more advanced sessions focusing on accountability. I'll bet, hey, you guys, the guys responsible for all this shit, you need ultra training. We perceive a desire from management to leave the crisis from summer 2020 behind, as it represents a risk for the group's durability, but training must be renewed regularly and offered to new staff. For now, this request has not been addressed. So they did one token training session, and they've made no scheduling to keep doing it, to keep reinforcing it, making sure people are aware of it, and that new hires are also subjected to it. So yeah, again, these are token attempts, basically, so they can say when the lawsuits come up that they can say they did them, but there's no attempt to actually continue it on. This little update bracket is basically corporate speak. They reached out to an Ubisoft representative to comment on the Telegram article, and it's just, we've done so many major changes across the organization. The major changes are training, and they shuffled some people about. That's it. That's fucking nothing. They've apparently got a code of conduct written that's changed so that they can say that harassment is a non-negotiable interdiction, which apparently was not in their code of conduct before that, but it hasn't actually been published. It won't be published until the summer, so that is useless, considering all the training has already happened and they've made no attempt to schedule more training on top of it. So they can have this code of conduct and everyone will ignore it. Okay, new Zelda Amiibo has a bullshit special power. Okay, so this is coming from the Skyward Sword HD re-release that will be happening, has already happened rather. So there's a new Amiibo, which is it here. Basically what it allows you to do is if you tap it off your controller or off the Joy-Con or whatever it happens to be, you can instantly fast travel between the surface on Skyward Sword and the sky area of Skyward Sword. So there's two distinct areas. The original game design, that's kind of a pain in the ass to actually move between the two of them, because you could only do it through specific save points, whereas this Amiibo will allow you to just do it. So you can, immediately return to the shops and get more resources if you have to run out of resources or whatever. Kind of shitty. The bullshit part of this is that you can only do it with this very specific Amiibo. Excuse me. And if you've ever been someone who collects Amiibo, you'll know they're really hard to actually get. Some of them are really difficult to find. They're very expensive to import, etc. And having this clearly obvious quality of life improvement for a re-release, this should be something every player can do. This should just be a thing that it can do. This shouldn't be tied to a piece of plastic, an additional expensive piece of plastic. So not a great move by Nintendo, and hopefully it's just a one-off and they don't keep doing this, because it's also, this is the only Amiibo that can do it. So you might have other Zelda Amiibo, like Zelda, Link, whoever. They can't use that power. I don't know what they do in the game, but they don't do this. This very specific Amiibo is the only thing that can do the fast travel thing. Otherwise, you got to do it the old way. So not great. Warner Brothers Games is getting broken up as AT&T spins off its media business. So AT&T, big American telecommunications guy, are trying to merge with Discovery so they can make this horrible global streaming thing. But in order to do that, they're required to divest from Warner Brothers Games, or at least partially, as it'll come up. So Warner Brothers Games encompasses Rocksteady, the guys behind Batman Arkham, NetherRealm, the people behind Mortal Kombat, Monolith, people behind the Shadows of Mordor, Middle-earth games, TT Games, Traveler's Tales. I think it's Traveler's Tales. They make the Lego games. Avalanche Software, who make the upcoming Hogwarts flop, and then a bunch of Warner Brothers Games, Montreal, Boston, Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, New York, who make some games, presumably. Some of them make games, some of them are probably QA testing sites, probably something like that. So some of the gaming arm will stay at AT&T, some will go to the new company. So I'm guessing like the first couple they'll probably keep because they make the money, and then the last couple they'll probably throw off to somebody else. That'd be my guess. My guess is the WB Games ones, studios, they'll probably sell off and then hang on to Rocksteady now, NetherRealm, the ones who make the money. AT&T did put Warner Bros. Games up for sale in 2020, and it had some interest from all the people you don't want to buy these franchises: Electronic Arts, Take-Two, Microsoft, and Activision Blizzard. Maybe Microsoft, they're doing some good stuff lately. Although they would almost certainly make it Xbox exclusive, so no. No, please. Anyway, they took it off. It's not on for sale now, but now, of course, they will have to divest. So interesting to see what happens there. I'd be interested to see who actually buys it, but again, if they're actually going to be keeping some of the gaming arm, they're probably going to keep some of the bigger games, so it's probably not going to be that big a change exactly. Warner Brothers, like, we give a lot of shit to like Activision, Electronic Arts, and so on, but Warner Brothers Games are right up there with them. Like, they are also horrible for nickel and diming people, for treating players like payers, and so on. Anyway, Skyrim is Grand Theft Auto 5 is coming to another console, for fuck's sake. This will be PS3, PS4, and now PS5. Incredible. It's like 3 GTA games came out on the PS2, and 1 GTA game has come out on 3 PlayStation consoles. That's ridiculous. You can also currently play GTA 5 on your PS5 or Xbox Series through backwards compatibility. And from what this article outlines, and from what the trailer outlines, there's minimal changes. There's like some technical improvements and stuff. It doesn't seem like they'll be doing anything with the DualSense controller on the PS5. Should also be pointed out that GTA 5 made no changes for like the higher end versions of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, like the PlayStation 4 Pro and so on. They never bothered to actually enhance it. They're saying it's been expanded and enhanced, but there's no mention of what exactly, and more than likely it's probably just GTA Online that's been expanded and enhanced, because that makes them look so much money. They are going to release a standalone version of GTA Online, and it will be free for PlayStation 5 players for the first 3 months. It's interesting. I'm wondering if you already own it, is it a free upgrade? Is that the way it's going? I don't know, but it also means that you're gonna have to pay full price. There's also no mention of whether or not this is a version upgrade, like a free upgrade if you happen to own it on PS4 already. It wasn't a free upgrade if you happen to own it on PS3 already. And since this is owned by Rockstar, and then by extension Take-Two, you're gonna have to pay full price for this again. It's fucking stupid. Alright, eBay is banning the sale of adult video games. So I'm mostly doing this like piggybacking on like Valve not wanting to have anything to do with adult stuff, it being used as a gotcha in the Epic versus Apple trial that the Epic Store houses adult video game stuff, and why that's a bad thing. Of course, Epic parried that by just saying, no, we host the Itch app, and the Itch app is what hosts adult content or whatever. So there is legally they're, I think, absolved of that, but whatever. The whole point is Puritanism and think of the childrenism and that kind of thing. It's kind of a short article, but it just goes into outlining what eBay are doing. They're basically taking away the adult only content kind of tag. So items that would be rated X or XXX or 18 or no rating, unrated, won't be sold on the store anymore. So specifically for like video games and movies, it'll be that kind of rating thing that they're basically not allowing, like explicit, sexually explicit, images, video, that kind of thing. They're going to remove their adults only category, and then kind of posits here, Luke Plunkett kind of posits here that how will that affect games that are sold in like Australia, New Zealand, who have a much stricter ratings board, like things like Grand Theft Auto, Disco Elysium, were refused rating in those countries for whatever reason. How would that affect them? And then there was an update to come back to basically say that eBay Australia are not taking on these new rules. So I guess if you want to buy porn games, or not even porn games, but just like sexually oriented video games or movies or whatever, go to eBay Australia. You can do it there instead. I'm just pointing it out that it's just a growing trend of like American Puritanism and China Puritanism kind of being exported into the internet, into the international domain. Things like PayPal, things like Visa, who are refusing to take money for anything that's sexually oriented. Now, like, they're kind of doing it under the auspices that it'll be like tramp down on human trafficking and that kind of thing, which is obviously noble, but it's having the knock-on effect that it's just a complete tarring over of like sex work and valid human expression. Sex is a huge part of the human condition. Like, you can't just put it to one side. It's vital for the proliferation of the species. It's just shit that this is the way it's going. That the kind of like the siloing of big things like PayPal, like Visa, like Venmo, like whoever, like the big payment companies don't want anything to do with it from a legal standpoint, which has the knockback effect that eBay won't take, eBay won't host those kind of items because they can't sell them, because they can't get a buying partner for it. Same with Amazon, same with Epic, same with Apple, all of them. None of them want anything to do with it because they can't get the payment companies to come on board, but also they have their own prudish kind of policies. Apple in particular are very bad about it, and since they are in a position of power in the industry, they're in a position of power in all over the tech world, they can enforce this kind of thing. And then China itself is very much anti-pornography, and they have a much bigger voice in the technological world, the internet world, globalization. They have a much bigger voice, so people have to listen to them because they're such a big market. This is the knock-on effect. Anyway, dumb stuff. Why not? So, Walsall Council criticised for enormous Super Mario plant pots. So, Also, council bought these. Why is the image in the article bigger than the zoomed in image? Anyway, they bought these giant Super Mario pots, and the local council are kind of pissed that they wasted money on them. I think they look good. That's it. That's the story. The idea behind them is that they're nice and they're colorful, they're friendly, you know, the improve well-being for people. There'd be a nice thing to look at, you know, but obviously people are like there's other things we need to spend the money on. And to be clear, these are not actually Super Mario plot plants, they just happen to look like them, and people likened them to like the Mario pipes and stuff. And I had the same article in twice, so that's good stuff. Anyway, it's the same story, but from a different person. Maybe they have better images. No, that's a small image too. What are people doing? Anyway, they all use the same image, whatever. Anyway, that was the news for 17th to 23rd of May 2021. Nothing huge again in the video game end of things. Certainly the whole IGN debacle, which is not a good look for games journalism, which has always been kind of dogged by accusations of censorship, of like pay for play kind of thing, like they're beholden to their corporate interests and so on. So this is not a good look for them because it's a very clear piece of evidence for it. So that's not going to work well for them. New releases, not many games I'm all that interested in coming out this week. Shin Megami Tensei 3, Nocturne. It'll be a while before I get it. I'm interested to play it, but not for that amount of money. I'm going to wait for a sale at some point. Ubisoft continues to be Ubisoft. No one's really surprised exactly. It's not great. Hopefully the lawsuits will actually enforce some actual changes at the company. Unlikely you'll hear anything about it from their next Ubisoft Forward. It was a big criticism the last time they had a big Ubisoft event. These kind of accusations have just come out, and it was like, I think Eve made like a token gesture about it, and I think it was like a tweet like buried in the during the video showcase. It wasn't actually in like the event itself. It was just a tweet that was sent out at the same time, so they could again just shove it under the rug. Otherwise, there's not much going on at the moment. The game industry, it's kind of running up to summer. Summertimes tend to be very quiet in terms of game releases. You know, a lot of them are getting together whatever their showcases would normally be for E3 or for Summer Games Festival as it is now in some cases. That kind of thing. They'd be ramping up for September and then the run up to Christmas, so that kind of thing. So summer tends to be fairly quiet, so this news show will also more than likely be fairly quiet. Hopefully not. Hopefully we will see. There's a couple of companies who are doing like different video showcases in between E3, ahead of it, after it, and so on. So we'll see some stuff, but probably we won't see too many big new releases. And also we don't have too much coming up on the calendar for game releases either. The only two that actually leap out to me at the moment are Deathloop, because it was delayed, so it will be at some stage later this year. I forget the exact date. And the Final Fantasy VII remake DLC Intergrade. But again, that's DLC. So if you had the game already, then you know you probably are already aware that the DLC is on its way. But if you don't already have the game, you probably have no interest in it. So it's just Deathloop. But obviously, there will be games for the Christmas period, the September period. There's almost certainly going to be a Call of Duty. There's almost certainly going to be a FIFA and so on. There'll be other games around it. There'll probably be another Assassin's Creed. Hopefully not. The series needs a break. There have been too many in rapid succession. Odyssey, Origins, Odyssey, then Valhalla. You need, those are huge games. They need a break. They should take a break. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you thought of the video, and if you have any examples of something I can use for industry bullshit, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.